Welcome to The Real Deal, where it's all about businesses in central Massachusetts and northeastern Connecticut. And now, your host, Anthony Chabot of Chabot & Associates.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Real Deal Business Podcast. My name is Anthony Chabot of Chabot & Associates Real Estate Group of Keller Williams. And on today's show, very special guest, we have Dave Coderre running for the 29th Senate District, State Senate for Connecticut. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks, Anthony. Pleasure to be here. And 29th District, for anyone who doesn't know, is Thompson, Putnam, Killingly, Brooklyn, Canterbury, Scotland, Wyndham, and Mansfield.
Well, you have a radio voice. You have a very good radio voice, unlike myself. But it's nice to have you on the show. I've known who you are for a long time. Didn't you work at the bank in Putnam for a long time, right?
I did. I was a senior lender at Citizens National Bank.
Okay, yeah, and I used to see you driving around town all the time. We've seen each other for many years driving around, and I know your dad. Everybody knows your dad, Ron Coderre. Right. So, and I see you at the PBA meetings, and I see you at the First Friday events in downtown Putnam. The first question I always like to ask everybody is, well, it's starting to become a problem because I ask everybody where they're born, and everybody says Putnam. But I'm guessing you were born in Putnam too?
I was born and raised in Putnam.
Okay, and then where did you grow up? What town?
So I grew up in Putnam. We lived in a couple different areas of town, and went to St. Mary's School and Putnam High.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. And what about after high school? What did you do after that?
So I was fortunate enough to attend the University of Notre Dame in Indiana.
Oh, wow.
And got my bachelor's degree in finance and business economics.
Another one that I wish I would have done. And Larry Groh, same thing. I just interviewed Larry Groh. He's going for a different political position right now, and he actually and it's fresh in my mind because we just got done talking about it. But that's what I wished I would have done when I got out of high school. I wish I would have gone for business and finance. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you went to Notre Dame. What is it? Notre Dame? Notre Dame? I don't know.
However you want to say it.
How do you pronounce it?
I say Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Okay. And what did you go for again?
Finance and business economics.
Okay, excellent. So what did you do after that?
So after that, I came back home for a summer. A funny little story is I worked with Mark Archambault, who's of Archambault Insurance, prominent in town. Yep. We were both finished school, and we had the summer off, so we became delivery men for Steve Busquets Appliance for a summer.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I know Steve Busquets is
Steve used to call us the French Connection because we were the two college kids and doing that for the summer. And as a matter of fact, I think of that summer often because it was about as hot as this summer has been. And air conditioners were the big seller that summer. So once I finished the summer, I decided to pack a bag and flew out to Chicago on a one-way ticket and stayed on some friend's couch to look for a job out in Chicago. And eventually I ended up in the trading industry, commodities industry.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that's the kind of industry where you have to get your foot in the door, and there is no glamorous high salary there. You are paid peanuts because generally you're trying to make an opportunity for yourself to become a trader.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just saying on another recent podcast that I just recorded that I wanted to be a stockbroker, but I had no idea where to go or how to get started, and that's what I should have done. Right. I should have moved to Chicago with Dave Coderre.
Yeah,
slept on a couch and started.
We could have done it together, because it was a long journey, but I've spoken on a couple other interviews, and I've said that trading, I eventually got my chance to become a trader by the time I was about 24 years old, which is nice and young. And it's really an industry, Anthony, that doesn't have any prejudice against anyone. So you can be no education or a PhD. You can be a man or a woman. You could be any ethnicity. You could be any race, whatever you want. Nobody's there to stop you. If you get your seat and you learn how to trade, you are there to make money, and if you can do it, it's a free market. It's the bastion of free market and free market economics.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like a great time, actually.
It is, although I've also said over 90% of the people who do it fail. Mm-hmm. And I was perilously close to failing myself. And it's one of those things where you learn from your mistakes. And I was able to turn it around with hard work and I guess a little bit of good luck, and then didn't make those same mistakes I had made to get there. and ultimately had a nice career, 12 years of trading, and was able to make a living at it. So, you also hear stories of guys who make money right away but don't really know how they did it, and then they ultimately fail because they didn't really suffer those pains and growing pains.
Yeah, I hear that. In real estate, sometimes people get lucky in certain deals, and then they try to do it again, and it doesn't work because it wasn't... Maybe
they think they don't need to work as hard or whatever. It's just going to come to them, right? So, right. Yeah, exactly. So, very fortunate with that. And then in 2002, I moved back here, back to Putnam, and from there I actually got in with Citizens National Bank. I was very lucky to land a position there. A senior lender was retiring, and so they took me in and showed me the ropes and took over a department of a local bank, which was nice because, like you mentioned, I was running around town, I was running around the area, meeting people that I kind of knew before, and meeting again, and working for my hometown bank, which was a nice atmosphere to work in. So I worked in a few institutions. I was there, I was in Rhode Island, I was also in Mass. And then in July of 2014, opportunity arose to purchase a small company called Fastpack LLC, which had been founded by two women 35 years ago, and they were looking to retire, and I kind of wanted to do my own thing and be my own boss. So I purchased the company. As a matter of fact, I just passed 4-year anniversary of the company under my ownership, and so that's what I operate now in Putnam, and we package and ship military parts, so parts that are destined, made by contractors, usually in the state or throughout New England, and they have a contract with the government. The government has very specific regulations, so they send them to a house like us. We pack them and ship them out for them.
It's kind of funny is I was wondering where you went because I wasn't seeing you around as much as I used to. And I would always see you cruising through town, and all of a sudden I didn't see you for a while, and I was like, where the heck did Dave Coderre go?
Yeah, well, first I went to Rhode Island, but now I'm back in Connecticut, and that's what I'm doing now. Well, I should say that's kind of almost my sideline. Now I'm a full-time campaigner, it seems like.
Well, I've definitely seen you out on the first Fridays and the PBA meetings, and you're promoting yourself. You're doing a great job. I see you have a lot of people around you, and everybody's got the Coderre shirts on, and it's very noticeable. And you're shaking hands and talking to people, and you're doing a good job out there. So, can you tell us a little bit about what types of things are you going to do if you get elected to that position?
So that's sort of a double-edged sword, right?
I don't know anything, and I'll give a little disclaimer. I don't know anything about politics, you could tell me something that's not even close to what it is going to be, and I wouldn't even know. So you could play a trick on me right now, and I wouldn't even know.
It's an excellent question, and I get it from a lot of constituents. We're out knocking doors every night or talking to people, like you said, and we see them. And that is a question you get. And the one answer I do have for people on that is, as a senator or a state rep, you're not necessarily going to make policy in regard that you hear our gubernatorial candidates, they have plans. They develop plans on what they want to implement for the state. As a first-time senator, I don't have a plan I could implement for the state. What I tell people is, here's the principles I believe in and what I'm looking for. I'm talking about fiscal responsibility, economic opportunity, limited government, things like that. So I talk about what I believe in, what I think should be done, but I don't have a plan. I say I'm going to go in and lower tax. Well, I'm not going to go in and look. I'm not the governor. I don't have a plan. But I will support any governor that comes across that has to get plans through the legislature, which is us, to do things like that. So my promise to my people when I'm out there is, okay, I'm going to try and keep your taxes low. I won't vote for increase in taxes. I will not vote for increased regulation. So if you own a business and they're trying to put in increased legislation and regulation that's going to slow your business down and hinder it, I'm going to be trying to stop that from happening. I'm going to be trying to open up the economy, make a more vibrant economy. So I don't want it to sound like a political answer, but it is a wide range.
No, that's good. And you're actually being pretty specific, because I was looking for more of a generalized answer to what does a senator do? Because honestly, like, if it has to do with computers and photography and drones and gadgets and real estate and marketing and stuff like that, then I'm pretty good with that. I understand it. But if it has to do with anything else, car repair or politics or sports or anything like those things, I have no idea.
Well, let me tell you this then, because this is important for a lot of people to know, because I rattled off the 8 towns, and I'm going to do it one more time. So it's Thompson, Putnam, Killenly, Brooklyn, Canterbury, Scotland, Wyndham, and Mansfield. And I say that because not a lot of people know that. And politics can be confusing unless you get involved.
That's very specific. Northeastern Connecticut. If you're in Northeastern Connecticut, you need to be involved in in whatever those towns are doing politically, for sure.
And it's important to know because the Senate, and the position I'm running for, is important because we only have 36 senators in the state of Connecticut. And currently, the Senate is divided evenly, 18-18, which is the first time in a long time that we've had a split like that. The lieutenant governor presides over the Senate, so she right now casts a tie-breaking vote, and she's a Democrat. So technically, you could say we still have a Democratic Senate, but we do have a split. The legislature has been strong Democrat, but that has tightened up as well. So I just give that little lesson because it is important to know that the position I'm running for is only 36 of those in the state, as opposed to the reps, they have 151 of those. So we do have a lot of people in those.
Oh, wow.
So we have a bunch of reps within my district even, so we cross over a lot because they're all same towns and mix and match.
Well, I have to admit, I really don't watch news because I'm just work so many hours doing what I do. I don't really know anything about, like I was saying, about sports or news or anything like that. But I wonder how people learn this stuff. How did you get involved in politics? Like, what made you first get interested in learning about this and wanting to get involved in it?
So I think it goes back to my background of trading, and I forgot to mention that while I was trading, I actually went at night and got my MBA. I went to DePaul University and figured I'd invest in myself while I had the time, and got an MBA in entrepreneurship. So, and that was a unique experience because, excuse me, I was able to go back to school on a more mature level, meaning you weren't right out of high school and you got to go to college. I was 10 years out and I was paying for it myself, and I wanted to be there. I was an adult, and it was a different learning experience. I loved it. So the reason I say that is how did I get into politics? Well, I did a couple terms on the Board of Selectmen here in Putnam. Danny Rivero was the mayor at the time, and I got on his team, and we did a lot of great things then. So I had a little sense of that. But I think it's my economic background that drew me back into politics, because as I was watching what was happening to the state, and I was kind of on the sidelines, I probably didn't pay attention as much as I should have at times. But then when I really did, I began to feel that geez, things are going in the wrong direction, and they're not, and personally not the direction I want to see. They're against, I'm a free market guy. I believe that the state was doing too many things to hinder small businesses, slow them down, not make it easier for entrepreneurs like me and you and all the other ones we see around here. So that's what really drew my interest back in. And then, I caught wind of a few people that were involved. The Putnam red wave of Republicans that Barney Sinay, Jeff Rawson, all those guys took over, and Ricky in 2016 was fantastic. 2017 they won. And that really encouraged me to get out there. So all those things kind of rolled together and just snowballed, and next thing you know, my head's on the chopping block and I'm out there.
Well, you seem very well versed in it, and I've spoken to quite a few people about politics recently, and I love how it seems like everybody's friendly around here. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times when you hear about politics on a national level, people are just so, I don't know, it gets ugly after a while. But, earlier you were just friendly. You're friendly with people. It seems like, and I like that a lot. I like how people can get along and they can have differing opinions and it can still be respectful of each other.
Absolutely.
Very nice to see.
It is. And the way I've approached this from the very beginning is that, this is a political decision that people need to make. It's not about who do you like it's not about a personality contest. I mean, obviously it plays into who you are, but my politics and my opponent's politics, you can look at it. You can compare what we do and what we like and what we don't and see which one you fall behind and which one you believe in. It doesn't have to be anything but that.
And I think it should come down to the issues. You can, and I'm not political at all, but I do tend to, if I have to be, or if the time comes to vote, I take it issue by issue, because I hate just following party lines and everything. Absolutely. I do.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to be able to be in a position where I don't have to follow this or that. I can just kind of pick and choose. Issue by issue.
Right. And just, I don't know if it's okay to go here, but it's just relevant right now because with the passing of Senator John McCain,
right, yeah.
I put a post up today that if you give me a couple minutes, I'd really like to talk about. So
do.
when I was a commodities trader in Chicago, they used to take dignitaries around on the floor and give them tours. Mm-hmm. And in April of 1998, 20 years ago, I had just seen a biography, 2 hours, something special on John McCain. And I didn't really know that much about him at that point. I think he was about 10 years in as a senator. I knew he had been a POW, and I saw more about it. Found out about his near death on the USS Forrestal, where they had a huge fire when he was in Vietnam before he was a POW, and then that. And lo and behold, I turned around one day in the trading pit, and he was walking by with the president of the exchange. They were taking him on a tour. And I literally had just seen the show about him days before. So I turned around, and I stuck out my hand, and I said, Senator McCain, Dave Coderre, pleasure to meet you. I think you're a true American hero. And he stopped, and he shook my hand vigorously. We had a great shake, and he said a few things back to me, and I didn't know it, but about a week later, obviously they had a photographer with them from the exchange, and the guy came up to me and handed me this beautiful color shot of us shaking hands. And it's a great shot. I've had it framed ever since, and it's been hanging in every office I've worked in, and I've been very proud of it because I really do feel he was an American hero. And when he died, I took a picture of the picture and put it on Facebook and wrote a little story about how I got to see him that day and that picture. And I've got a lot of tremendous feedback from people. But one of the things I said in that was, whatever your view of his politics, and he was a Republican, and he was known as the Maverick because he thought his own way. And at times he angered the other side, and at times he angered his own side.
Yeah, he was a very open-minded
He
conservative.
did, and sometimes it was one and sometimes it was the other. And quite frankly, I didn't agree with him all the time, and I never had to vote for him because, well, I guess I did. He ran for president, but he wasn't my senator per se. And so I don't always agree what his politics were, but I really respected him as a man and what he had done. And I even respect the fact that he had the will to stand up for what he believed in, whether it was what his party wanted or not. So
100% agree.
In that regard, like I said, are listeners out there, do I want them to say, you're going to vote like McCain or something like that? No, but I want you to think that he's going to think like McCain in the sense that he's going to be his own person. And if I have a model, like he's a great model to, it's hard to say. And I put at the end, whatever his politics, he gave selflessly to his country. I mean, anybody who spends 5.5 years can't lift their arms above their head after they come out of that and do that. I think it's hard not to say that they were an American hero. But that's my aside for the tonight.
Well, that's a great story, and I'm really happy that you added it to this, because I do like this podcast to be an opportunity to talk a little bit about somebody as a biography perspective from what you've done. Where that's why I asked, where were you born? Where did you go to school? What did you do after high school? What have you done in business? What brought you into whatever it is that you're doing? And then, which leads me into my next question, and that is, do you have a piece of advice that you can give to anybody that's starting out in either business or politics? If you could look back and when you were just starting out, if somebody could have given you a piece of advice, what do you wish that you would have known back then?
Well, we probably all hear a lot of cliches, right? And people make fun of cliches, but sometimes a cliche is still around because it really makes some sense, right? So how many times do people tell you, follow your dreams, or make sure you're doing something that you like? And I don't know that everyone can say they've always done that. I probably haven't, but I've always been able to pursue it with a passion. I think as my children reach college age and high school, that's what I continue to tell them. Like, what do you like? What do you like to do? Take it in that direction. I'm a sports guy, and I had almost dabbled and tried to get in with like professional sports team when I was really young and thought about doing something like that. And sometimes I still say, geez, where would I have been? Would you be working with Bill Belichick in the front office right now if you had done it? But you never know. But those are the kind of things like, follow your dreams and go with what you want to do. I did hear Larry talking to you, and he talked about working hard, and that's obviously important. I had a great customer. Being a commercial lender for a while was great because I got to sit and meet all the different entrepreneurs out there like yourself and other people. And I had one, and he's probably the most well-off man that I ever had as a customer. And he said to me, do you know what I knew about this business before I started? And I said, no. He said, nothing. He said, what I knew is I needed to make more money than I spent. And I said, here's the guy with the best balance sheet I've looked at and personal financial statement I've seen. And he's telling me that he didn't know anything about the business he took over, but he knew that he needed to make more money than he spent. And maybe that's simplified, but why does it have to be any harder than that, right? And And that's what he lived by. And I've tried to keep that in the back of my head. And I tell you what, it flows over into politics, right? It flows into your own personal household, number one. And then it flows into politics when you see a state with all kinds of problems and financial problems. And you say, your budget's not funded, your $2 billion deficit, a $4 billion deficit, we just start to add zeros and we don't care. But that's what they're doing. We're spending money we don't have. And so you say those same lessons can cross over, and maybe they're the most important lesson is just that most basic one in whatever you get into.
Some good advice there in many ways that you can apply it. So, well, how can people get more information about you, Dave, and where can people learn more, and how can people help?
Okay. Well, you mentioned our team, which I really want to say that I'm glad to hear you say the shirts, because we're really trying to take a approach of branding. So if I'm out walking around and I have 10 people with a Coderre shirt on with the same logo every time, I think people start to see it. Anthony, when we first started to go to some events, it was just me and a manager, and like nobody knew us, but we had little badges with the logo. And I said, well, maybe people are seeing us, and 2 months from now they'll see it again and say, I saw that guy.
The
and
multiple
I think that's
shirts
happening now.
Works.
Right.
I agree. Because
now
you can just be walking by and you see a crowd of people with the same shirt on. Yep. You don't see that very often. Right. It stands out.
Right. We also went to an innovative one. We got bottles of water. We got it privately labeled, so we have our label with the same logo on. And that car cruise, First Fridays, we just pass out waters to people, and it's just a nice icebreaker. And this summer, it's been a good time to have it, and we just say hello to them. So long story short, though, is what I have is a team. And Brian Maynard is my campaign manager, and he's done a great job. And then I have people like Pete and Kelly Newth. Kelly is my events coordinator. Why do I say all that? Because you need people. My dad was instrumental in me getting this off the ground, and one of the things he said to me and the initial people around me were, Dave's going to need a team. And, he's been right. And at first you say he just saying stuff, and you got to listen to him. And then you get into it, and you're 6 months in, and you say, I'm glad I have a team, and we're hitting a point where when we're out, it's a team. When we have events, it's a team. I got signs. I have thousands of signs coming in, and I've got a sign team now. But we can always use more people. We can use more people that are dedicated, because it's hard to find people, Anthony, because everyone has a job and a life. So there might be someone who wants to help you who just doesn't have the time. And I don't always know all the people that are out there that do want to help. So if somebody wants to help, they certainly should reach out to us. And the easiest way to find us is our website, www.coderre2018.com. Or probably even easier than that is go to Facebook and just look up Coderre 2018, and you'll find us on there, and you can reach out to us through there. We're looking for people who want to be active, who don't mind taking some time out of their life, because it takes time. Every night you're knocking on doors, and every day you're trying to meet a new person and say hello to someone and go to something and get throughout your district. And you can't do it alone. You really do need a team.
Very well spoken, Dave. I have to say, I'm not just saying this. Your voice is excellent. You should be on the radio talking about this stuff on a regular basis, because you have a pleasing voice to listen to. Unlike myself, which a little self-deprecating there for myself always. But it's great to have you on the podcast, and thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you more at the PBA meetings. And of course, you're at every one. I'm at every one that I can make, of course. And First Fridays, which are going to be winding down a little bit as the fall approaches. But it's always a pleasure to see you and everybody in the Putnam community whenever we get together for all the events. So
you too, and good luck. I watched from a little bit from afar and been very pleased. What's the word? Impressed with the operation you've put together already, and got your name, and you've done a little bit of branding yourself out there. So
sometimes I feel a little bit like a politician, because I just get the lettering on the side of the Jeep and
everything. It's all kind of the same. It all comes down to that recognition. But I have watched you do it, and you're doing a great job, and hopefully it'll pay off for you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it's a lot of fun. So, I've been in real estate marketing for 15 years. I figured I might as well become a realtor, and it's hard for me to limit myself to residential, so I'm involved in the commercial a little bit here and there, and it's just awesome. I really there's not another thing I would rather do than just real estate, and real estate marketing is so much fun. So it's a pleasure meeting up with you again, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. It's the Real Deal podcast. There's also a Real Deal it's the Real Deal Business podcast, and there's also a Real Deal Real Estate podcast. They're two separate podcasts because I like to interview people about real estate, but then I also like to interview people about businesses. For more information about myself, Anthony Chabot, Chabot & Associates Real Estate Group of Keller Williams. If you're looking to buy or sell a house or a listed building for sale, or if you have commercial, retail, or office space that you would like to market, my number is 508-847-0902. Again, 508-847-0902. And you can also check it out online at chabotandassociates.com or on Facebook. So thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time.